Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Play More. Well, let's not play, let's write. It's my writing journal. Okay, so last time we were talking about the goddess and the parallel to the Christian theology of Jesus Christ and God. Mine's different, a little different in subtle ways, being that, well, I guess technically God has no gender, but she does. She gave up part of her mortality or her power and immortality, like God did when He became Jesus, but she didn't give up all of it, like that. Think of what else here. So that's what she gave up to create the world, right? And it's different again from Christianity because God never gave up His power to create the world. He gave up His power to become mortal to save humanity from itself, pretty much. She does not do that. She is apart from humanity. Well, I shouldn't say that. She advises humanity, but lets them make their own decisions. So there is a political structure. I'm just randomly putting ideas. This have no... I'm just typing just for the sake of typing. Okay. There is a political structure. In the only major city, there is a political structure in the only major city of Great Haven. Okay, so like I said, the goddess, she's actually a physical avatar on the world. I'll write that down. She has a physical avatar on the world. Oops, I don't want to do that. Alright, I'm just trying to make this a little bit more cohesive here, because I'm trying to get all my ideas down here. Okay. That's another one of the ideas that I'm going to want to touch on in my story, is how refugees are treated. I believe that's a very important topic nowadays, considering what's going on in America. So that's going to be part of the political aspect of Great Haven. Now, the story's not going to start out there. Story is going to start out in a valley on the edge of the known world. Now, what I mean by the known world is, like I said, Great Haven, not Great Haven, Illyria is only 500 years old. So, a lot of the world has yet to be explored, right? There is very little settlements. So it's going to start out in a valley in some, what did I call them? I called them the Lofty Mountains. Valley... in a valley in the Lofty Mountains. Bonus points if you know what that's from. But if you don't know, it is what the mountains in Secret of Mana were called. So, a little nod to Secret of Mana there. If you know anything about me, we'll talk a little bit about myself. I grew up in the rural part of Canada, so the rural part of rural, if that makes any sense. I was born in a small town of Saskatchewan, which is a prairie province in Canada. Saskatchewan being the least populated southern province, I think, if you don't count. That's a good point. I don't know what the population of the maritime provinces are, because they're pretty small with their islands. I'm talking about like the provinces like Alberta, British Columbia, Ontario, Quebec, even Manitoba. Those provinces are a lot more populated than Saskatchewan is. Out of all of those, Saskatchewan's the least populated. It has, last I knew, it was like 1.5 million people. All right, in a province that has like a square. I'm gonna bring this over and I will show you. Okay. And this will tie back into the story. I just gonna give you a little bit of context here. So, province of Saskatchewan. Okay, this is the province of Saskatchewan. It's between Manitoba and Alberta. It's got a population of 1.13 million in an area of 251,000 square miles. Okay. So, yeah, just think of how sparsely populated that is. That is the rural side of rural, okay? So that's where I was born. So this is kind of why I chose to start the story off on the edge of the known world. Basically, nobody's around. There is no form of government. Now, of course, this is different from Greathaven. No form of government or currency of any kind. The people there are settlers. They've settlers and explorers. Right, they're exploring the edge of the known world. Now, I kind of find this also kind of interesting too, because if you think back to the real world, right? You know, in our modern world, nothing is, well, I shouldn't say nothing, but there is nothing, no unexplored besides the ocean. There's basically no unexplored reaches of this planet. You know, it's all been explored, right? There are no islands that are hidden thanks to our satellites. You know, there might be, actually there is, I want to also point this out too. Despite how much we do know of our planet, like I said, there'll always be some unknown things. But I'm talking about, you know, for the most part, there's no unexplored reaches of our world. There might be things that are like forgotten continents. I mean, I'm actually going to show you. I recently learned that scientists have found a submerged, I guess, ancient continent. submerged continent. I want to see if this will come up. Yeah, I did that wrong. Okay, long last found submerged. Okay. I think this is what I was thinking of. Submerged deep under Indian Ocean. Yeah, this is what I was thinking of. One sandwich between India and Madagascar, and islands lie scattered at the bottom of the Indian Ocean. The first clues to the continent's existence came when some parts of the Indian Ocean were found to have stronger gravitational field than others. I'm thinking this might be the one that I was thinking about. I thought there might have been something else. But anyways, yeah, forget about Atlantis. Let me see if this is the same one. Lost continent is swath of the Indian Ocean. Yep, was returned by indomitable geological forces and plunged into the sea. Now, that's interesting because when you think of like lost continents, lost cities, like Atlantis, in ancient texts, now, of course, this might be different, but it's basically what happened to these long lost continents, at least in the story of Atlantis, is that it was plunged into the sea in the span of a night. I think is how don't quote me on that, I'm not sure, but it was quick. It was like bam, and it was under the ocean. Now that scientists are kind of finding proof of ancient stories like that, it's kind of interesting, you know. Now, what I would be more interested in is, now, how quick was this? Like, did it just get plunged into the ocean? You know, like, my mind is scattered. I got, you know. Now, this might seem like a tangent, and it probably is, but I'm thinking of California and the fault line. A lot of people think that when that fault actually truly fails, California is going to be cut off from America, right? And it basically will become an island on its own. And that's going to happen eventually. Now, I want to know is how quick is that going to happen? You know? It's interesting. It might very well happen in a night, just like the story of Atlantis, you know? So it's not so fantastic to think about. You know, it could be very well granted in reality. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out my butt, but it's things like this that I find interesting. These videos are kind of meant to be more of me trying to get down my ideas for my story. Like I said, it's a writing journal. Okay, so going back here, I'll go back to our world again, right? You know, the time of Christopher Columbus, nobody knew about North America and South America. At least nobody on that side of Europe did. I'm sure the natives didn't know anything. The natives in North America, South America, you know, the Mayans, they didn't know anything about the people across the ocean either in Europe. It's kind of going back to that mentality, that time frame where the world is largely unknown, right? The age of exploration. Okay, so like I said, having a background like a backstory is important, and that's kind of what I'm going to touch on a little bit now, is that Illyria wasn't the first world that the goddess created. The first world she created, I'm just kind of using a placeholder name for now, is Gaia. The first world she created was Gaia. Now what happened is this world basically failed. It was a failed experiment. It fell into decline because she never put the proper safeguards in place. Okay. Now the safeguards being that world tree. She never gave up a part of herself to create it. So, also going back, because she gave up a part of herself, there is a part of her in everything in it. Okay, so again, going back to Christian theology, we were taught that God is in everyone. I'm not really sure what the orthodoxy is on that. Like, I think it all boils down to your own personal belief. But some people believe God only exists in humans. I guess other people believe that he exists everywhere at once in everything, including animals and even inanimate objects like mountains, trees, things like that. And I'm more along the lines of that. To me, God is God is more of an explanation for why things are the way they are. That's what God is to me. That's who God is to me. Of all the possible probabilities that could exist, like, again, I go back to the quantum physics. It's like everything exists at the same time, or at least the probability of everything happening at the same time exists. It's only until it happens does it actually become reality. Like, again, it goes back to Schrodinger's cat. Is it you put it in a box? Is it dead or is it alive? You're not sure. You can't be sure until you open it and observe it and make it reality. So it's a collapse of that wave function, right? It's really crazy. Anyways. So anyways, going back to the world. Okay, so this first world, she never put the proper safeguards in place, so it failed. Okay. So basically what happened is it got destroyed. So what happened is, after it was destroyed, she restarted again, this time putting the proper safeguards in place. Okay, so this world is more stable because of it. It's not falling into decline anymore. But because she used um, what was left of the old world to create the new one. So she didn't start over from scratch again. Okay, so she didn't start over from scratch. She created this new world, and because of that, there are leftover remnants of the old world. Oh man, this reminds me a bit of RWBY as well. The world of RWBY is basically RWBY is a web series made by Rooster Teeth, and their world is Remnant. It's kind of the same idea. The world was basically devastated, and what was left over is what was remnant. You know, what was remnant was left over. So there, what was left over just wasn't okay. Wasn't just ruins. But the wasn't just ruins, but what caused, but also what caused the world to decline in the first place. Okay. Just good foes caused the world to decline in the first place. Okay. Now, what caused the world, the old world, to decline in the first place? This is an idea that or something I'm trying to think through. What would have caused it to decline? Like I said, there are no safeguards. Okay, that's fine, but let's go a little deeper than that. I was kind of toying with the idea that basically the energy that the goddess used to create it ran out. Okay, so I kind of think of it like your body, right? If your cells run out of energy, they're not going to replace themselves, right? They're going to die. I'm kind of thinking it like that. So how did she fix that? She put in the world tree, the source, right? She gave up a part of herself, and that's how that decline was fixed. It's kind of an infinite source of energy, right? Now, the energy that gets used up, right, just by living. It gets polluted, pretty much. Oops. I don't want. I wouldn't say much energy as magic. Um, I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I guess I'll stick with that for now. The energy, at least, is like a basis for my idea. I might have to flesh it out a bit more later. But for now, like I said, the energy used up living gets polluted, and that's what part of what caused the first world to decline, is because the energy just kept getting recycled, so it kept just getting more and more polluted, right? Now, what the safeguard she put in place, it renews that energy, right? That's kind of what I have in my head. The world tree basically renews the energy. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna have to stop it here. So that's gonna be it for this episode too, guys. So Godspeed, stay frosty. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.